Okay. Budget. Let's do some rendering. Hmm. Let's try something. Alright, hopefully the shit will stay live. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like it was just me trying to record while I was doing streaming at the same time, which is unfortunate. I'd hoped to turn this into a speed paint as well, but it's fine. This is getting this done is more. Streaming is a little. That is true. Actually, I'm not even sure how that will work because I'm streaming from my tablet. So I don't know. I suppose I'd have to get a better PC rig and then at the same time hook this up to the PC. I suppose I should get like a normal antique for streaming, like every other responsible artist, instead of using my mobile one. But this'll do for now. I don't know, maybe I can rip the video from YouTube and just use it in the edit for the speed paint. That'd be convenient. Shade. My opinion, this is usually whenever stuff I'm working on looks the worst, is whenever I'm cutting out values for the shading, which is great because this was the step I deliberately went to live stream because it's also the most interesting. Now everybody gets to see how my work looks before it's done. Yay! Now that'll do. Oh jeez. Just realized how reflected this arm. I'm gonna have to like kinds of paint editing here in a hot minute. Fun. Oh no, that's it. There we go. That's what I want. Oh yeah, sure. I can totally explain why art gets flipped so much. So basically, the way it works is whenever you look at something long enough, especially during its construction, one of the things that occurs is your eye sort of starts to make sense of it, even whenever it doesn't make sense, right? So like it's kind of like whenever you look at a picture long enough, you start seeing things that aren't there, because it's your mind sort of filling in the blanks, right? So that gets kind of magnified whenever you're working on an art piece, because you're actively envisioning what you want to see there. And if you go too long without flipping your canvas, like I'm about to do right now, um, then you might miss some otherwise really glaring and obvious errors. So, like for example, um, right, right here, right, like that looks really doofy. But I wouldn't have been aware of it if I hadn't been flipping my canvas. And even still, I wasn't aware of it uh, whenever I was sketching. I only became aware of it whenever I started filling in color. So it's really important to just sort of stay aware of what you're working on. Try and keep a critical eye while you're working on things, even whenever you're in an early stage like this, where everything's like really gross and muddy. That's arguably when it's the most important, because you last thing you want is to be working on an art piece for like, let's say, 4 hours, and then you get through and you're in rendering and you're really enjoying it, and then you finally realize that maybe like an eyeball is lopsided. That can be a whole lot more than just flipping your canvas every 5 to 10 minutes or so, and making sure that you're not goofing anything up early on. Also, you might find yourself getting attached to some of the flaws, and sometimes that's good. Like sometimes flaws in art is good. Like it's whenever it's a flaw that you can't really capitalize on that I think it becomes a big problem. Like I personally really like painting really fast and loose like this, specifically because it's so flawed. Like everything's really gross and muddy right now. But what this has the benefit of doing for me, at least, is it allows me to sort of uh, let my eye find things that I might find appealing, that I didn't know I would find appealing, or I didn't even consider adding into this piece. Uh, so it's a really useful tool to just keep everything flipped, to keep everything in motion. Not only for a sanity check to make sure that you don't unintentionally let a mistake that you otherwise wouldn't want fly through, but also it's great to allow you to find mistakes that you might actually like and you might want to turn them into something intentional. Yeah, that sounds about right. So one of the big flaws that this tablet has. Oh, well, you are very welcome. You fuck, I don't know. Person I probably know. Yeah. Anyway, like I was saying, one of the big flaws with this tablet, because I have a Mobile Studio Pro, is that there is currently an error in the driver where every now and then it won't read my pin pressure sensitivity, and it'll just make everything big and gloppy for a stroke, which kind of screws up the flow of basically everything, and winds up making me very sad. But fortunately, it only seems to happen every every couple of minutes, and then it might happen like 2 or 3 times all at once. Uh, but that's fine. Oh, wait, forgot his tiara. What are these? The diadem, I think. I don't know. I don't know what uh, 5 years ago Farachi was thinking. Actually, no, I know exactly what 5 years ago Farachi was thinking. 5 years ago Farachi was thinking that hairlines are hard and we should hide them. And so I did, and it came out with this like Scarlet Witch looking thing. Really has no business being on anyone's head, let alone this guy's. Yeah, sure. That'll do. That looks fine. Oh, also for record, this is the wonderful masterpiece that we're basing this off of. That was done in 2013, maybe 2012. I don't know. DeviantArt had it labeled as 2013. And it is the second oldest digital painting I had available to me. And this stream is the result of a poll done by my wonderful, beautiful patron people, and I guess also the less wonderful and goofy-looking patrons. But it was the result of a Patreon poll to do one piece. I usually try to do one piece that's just for me and not for a client or anything, a month. And so I decided to let the awesome patron people decide what I was, and one of the options was draw the oldest thing you have in your art gallery, and that would be this. Well, that would be this beautiful thing. Oh, okay. I can't. I need to stop looking at it. It's there. It's not even there as a reference. You really shouldn't. I really shouldn't even have it there. I think mostly it's to just shame me into continuing. Yeah, but hey, that's fine. I think shame is an excellent motivator. It definitely gets me into work in the morning. That's neat. Okay, cool. So we are just about done with on the multiply layer, which is good because that's usually when things look the goofiest. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do one more little trick, and then I'm going to actually start doing some legitimate rendering. Oh no, that's not the right. There we go. There we go. And I like to use a hue and saturation layer, usually under my multiply layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop the lightness down, right? Then we're going to bump the saturation a bit, okay? And as you can see, that kind of gives it a little more, some neater darkness to it. Though I'm looking at my home screen, it appears a bit too dark. So what we're going to do, actually just the piece in general appears a bit too dark. So I'm going to come over to the vibrancy thing. Just gonna just gonna see how this turns out on this monitor. So there might be a few seconds of me not actually moving my cursor or anything while I'm just looking at it. Yeah, that looks better. Awesome, cool. Okay, so now I'm basically gonna do the same thing I did with the multiply layer, but actually even more kind of sloppy, right? Because I am a sucker for additional toning in pieces. So like I don't even think that's a real term. I think I might just be making shit up. But basically what I mean is I don't like, even though the skin is one color, I like whenever there are multiple colors at play for the skin. I like being able to sort of add a bit more depth to things, right? And this is a way that I've found personally that really helps push that, you know, because I like gross, bright, colorful things. And with those gross, bright, colorful things, usually come a few sections of like really good dark colors for shades. And this method of shading tends to help bring out the brightest brights and the darkest darks. I should stop using brush and start using this brush. Yeah. Also, it just, I don't know, I really like it because it also kind of gives this sort of glowing factor uh, to the parts that like get fully erased, right? It just feels like it's glowing, and I really like that. Kind of like a radiance, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna, you know, putter on through here. We should use the soft enough. Yeah, you're the one I use. Yay! Alright. Yeah, also now we're just kind of at a point where I'm just gonna keep talking, even if there are no questions. Just because I kind of need sound to function as an artist. So if I'm just talking a lot about nothing, that's fine. Feel free to ask any questions or um, mock me in any way you see fit. I will happily change subjects uh, to go with the flow of, you know, all 2.5 of you rocking out in this chat with me. Which, thanks again, by the way, it means a lot. Streaming has never been something I have super been into, but it's definitely a fun way to spice things up every now and then. So I am super down to enjoy a little stream time with some homies. Please do explaining what. Oh, okay, right, cool. Yeah, totally. Sorry, there's a delay in streams, so I see responses and I've already forgotten what I was talking about. So yeah, right now all I'm doing is basically just trying to help push values. Just trying to help get things to pop a little bit more. That was also a big part of why I upped the saturation, is because the more light that shines on things, sometimes, at least usually whenever I do pieces, it tends to desaturate, which means it knocks a little bit of a little thing. Oh, hi, Cody. Okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. Wait, how did you? Alright, you know what? We're not gonna ask questions. I'm just gonna... Can I... Oh, yes, you can totally do that, Kodiak. Please and thank you. That would be cool. I like guildies. Guildies are nice. But yeah, fuck, what was I talking about? Right, values. Values and shading and saturation. So like right now, up close, this looks kind of bleh, right? But then you pull back, and then suddenly there's a lot more depth right here, right? So like, check it out. We remove that, see? And then you add it in, boom, boom, right? There are definitely easier ways to go about it, but I am a creature of habit, and as much as I love looking up tutorials and learning how to do new things, I also really enjoy figuring out weird ways to do things myself. And this is one of those results. It's definitely not unique. There are definitely other people out there who do this and who do it, you know, significantly better than myself. But it's you know, it's just one of those things that it's part of who I am now. You know, it's really awkward, inopportune way of shading is just it's just part of my heart song. You know, it's who I is. Back in because I realized that I forgot to finish the highlights on some of that hair. Yeah, that looks. So yeah, again, we're still keeping things really loose right now, for a couple of reasons. Um, One is again, like I mentioned earlier, you know, kind of trying to let my eye find new and interesting things about the piece that maybe I want to help push later. Hey Drim, how's it going? And what I want to push later, and then whenever I get to the next phase, I think it's the next phase. I don't know. It really depends on how goofy this looks whenever I'm done with this, which is my rendering phase. I will be going in and painting over basically everything to get much more detail and many more things. Oh, thank you very much, Trim. You are a wonderful, beautiful liar. Yeah, so we are damn near done with this value fucking about, which is good because I'm running out of interesting things to say about it, which is, you know, fine. I mean, it's arguably interesting to anyone really. Did I do this? Yes, I did. Okay, good. And now we're just gonna stuff. So yeah, now basically the really sloppy values that I added in with the multiply layer are getting pushed a bit in more specific areas that I prefer, right? So like for example, right here with the thumb, right? We've got the multiply layer that I didn't touch, right? And now it's off. Yeah, and then you pop back on, got a little bit more shading there, and with this other hue saturation layer, we turn it on, we turn it off, right? And it just kind of helps give a little bit more depth of field. The fuck is this? So I accidentally grabbed a brush I've never seen before in my life. That was weird. Hey, alright, so okay, now we're gonna scroll back again, and we're gonna flip this canvas, see how we feel about things. You know, I can already tell I'm terrible about this right here. Oh, it's because I didn't even fucking do anything with it. Oh, alright. Yep, me. Good boy. Sure, I'm really good at art. Yay! Alright, there we go. Better. It's kinda familiar. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna flip the canvas one more time. Well, say one more time. We're gonna flip the canvas one more time before we get into other business. Yeah, sure. Fuck it. I forgot to do the eyeballs. That would have come out really goofy later. Goofier. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and rock. I do. I think you know what? I think I want to go ahead and start working on some skin textures because I like skin textures, and there isn't a whole lot to do for this character in particular, just because there's so little skin showing. But it's one of those simple artistic things that brings me joy. Let's try a new brush. Here that yeah, this skin texture brush. This thing's pretty swanky. So we're gonna rock it. Push it a little bit towards red. Skin gets stressed or overused, it goes a bit red, right? And then mostly whenever it gets thin, it tends to redden a bit. So that's usually why you see it on like knuckles, stuff like that. And then we're going to drop the opacity just a bit. He's not. I think this guy had a name. I don't know what the name was. This was during that era of I'm just gonna draw as many things as possible to get good, and it kind of worked. Like we're here, and I can say that there is a visible difference in between the atrocity that's in the upper right hand corner and the thing that I'm working on now. So hey, that's good. That's a confidence booster. We're gonna count it. That guy's also got more detail on his armor, which made no sense to me whenever I was redesigning him. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm probably going to put it in, but I'm going to paint it in, which is a weird thing for me because normally I'm not super painterly. I want to be. I would love to be. I wish I was the most painterly painter boy who ever existed. But I'm mostly just like that awkward kid who is really into his coloring and less so into actually painting things like an adult. So let's see, where did I put the light source? Light source is, here's the darkest shadow, so light source is up here, sweet. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna get him a little bit of there. Let's not do lighting, let's do overlay. Yeah, overlay looks better. At least I think overlay looks better, and you guys don't have mics, so my opinion's the only thing that matters. So now all we're doing is we're just going in on a overlay layer, and in this overlay layer, I am just adding, much like I did with the basic shadows, I'm adding in some basic lighting as well. Some basically some of the more vibrant areas are going to get a bit more glow to them. I usually start with the hair because it's my favorite, and also I'm not generally super great at it. I have this bad habit of the lighting in my hair doesn't tend to look super natural. Actually, yeah, we're just gonna erase that, and that never happened. Hang on. Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks, Drim. Means a lot. Because lighting was another one of those things that I super duper struggled, especially whenever I was getting into just getting into digital. Yeah, this is much softer. I like this. It's coming out much nicer. So we're just gonna, yeah, yeah. How's that look on stream? Yeah, it looks alright. Still looks still looks so saturated. That's, yeah, it's gonna need another vibrancy layer, I'm thinking. But that's okay. Or more vibrancy. Okay. And we can do more vibrancy. Whoop. Let's do, yeah, tiny little shiny on the lip. Yeah, lighting is super important. So keep in mind some of the times if you're responding to something I'm saying, there's about a 20-second delay. So I may have zero idea what you guys are talking about. So if you can add in slight context clues, that would be super cool. Because I don't really listen to what I say. So who knows if it was even something I made. That looks, yeah, that looks, I think that's better. Anyway, count it. Sweet. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to soften this up a bit. Just come in, add some small touches, a few areas, and they're not going to look super great right now. But again, whenever we get into the rendering fiesta that I promise is coming at some point, then things are going to start to actually look like actual, like how I'm actually wanting them to look, rather than just these kind of like just clumpy masses. You know? Yes, you are a shining beacon of hope in this chat. Which again, thank you very much for coming by. Wonderful surprise. As you know, I don't know where I was going with that. To be honest, I lost it. Okay, so now we're gonna back. Then we're gonna take the image, see where we're at. Realize that we absolutely hate the lighting choice that we made on this shoulder here. I'm gonna go ahead and say we because you guys are all party to my failures. I will claim exclusive rights to my success. Okay. So you know what? I think I want to give. I think what we're gonna try and do is we're gonna do a little bit bounce lighting. And what bounce lighting is, right? Is whenever you have a light source, right? So like say you have a let's bust out the markers for a quick second, right? So like let's say you have a light source here, right? Like so this is our light source and it's gonna shine down, right? Like here. Boom, boom. Okay, cool. So assuming that the light source is in front of the character, right? So like let's make it to where it's front, right? Boom. And it is shining off. It's going to reflect off of other things. So the more reflective a surface, the more bounce light you're going to get, right? So like this metal here, what I want to do actually, I want to come over here and I want to take advantage of some of that bounce light and add in a very weakened, but still a relevant bounce light right there. that looks a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Swap to yes. Okay. Yeah. Again, all this, this section for doing lighting, really just about helping add in some values to some of the areas of the piece. Um, a lot of people prefer to do a blending style method where they where they go in and they do like live blending and like on-screen blending, and they'll usually have like a color palette. And I've done that a couple of times myself, um, but I did not do that this time because I wanted to give people sort of the experience of, no, this guy really is this dumb and this is how he normally does things, which is, you know, the much more difficult. Yeah, there we go. And then we're just gonna. You'll also notice that there are certain aspects of this piece that have detailing on them that I'm completely ignoring, and that is for good reason. Mostly, it's because the detailing I tend to save for my rendering phase because I like to pop it out and make it, you know, feel a little more three-dimensional. And focusing on coloring in it now really doesn't matter because I'm just going to paint over it anyway. And also, because I'm lazy and I might just paint over those in the rendering phase uh, rather than making other shit happen, like I'm supposed to. But hey, you know what? This is a redraw, so you guys don't know what 2013 Farachi's intent was. I mean, Farachi doesn't know what 2013 Farachi's intent was. Farachi doesn't know what Farachi's intent is now. I am talking in the third person, and I'm about it. I think that might be my YouTube gimmick. Is talking in the third person. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to talk in the third person exclusively from now on. And ring the notification bell. That's a thing now too, right? Yeah, do that. Okay, cool. So I think we've got most of the highlights in places. Ooh, he said he finds a highlight before. Yeah, that'll do. So we've got most of the highlights in now, which is good. And I'm liking where we're at. Let's see. Living solely for the third person content. Perfect. Thank you. Ben. Perfect. Gonna have to we're gonna design an entire YouTube persona around this one planned joke and gimmick. My very first live stream. So now what I'm doing is I'm darkening the background for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm looking on my main screen because I'm working on a tablet. I'm looking on my main screen and noticing that the character is a bit too dark for the background, and rather than lightening the character, I'm just going to darken the background. And I actually really like how that's looking on the other screen. It's pretty hype. All right, yeah, we're gonna keep that. 10 out of 10. Good job, boys. Did it. You can pack up, go home. War's over. Right. So I should not click. Like, sorry about that. Yeah, I think now is big boy rendering time. I'm guessing. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Fuck it. Let's do it. First thing I want to do is I want to find my line work, which is right here, and I'm going to add a hue and saturation layer. What's happened? There we go. And I'm going to saturate the line a bit. If you'll notice, that gives them a little reddish tinge. Yeah, kind of that. And that just kind of fits the piece a bit more. And then I'm gonna, you know what? I think I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna duplicate this group, right? And I'm going to merge the group, right? For that. So this is all of my lines on. Wait, fucking phone. All right, I guess I made 2 copies. That's not important. Anyway, so now, boom, right? I did that, but I did that for a very specific reason. Because you can't change, you can change a folder type um, to a different, to have different modes, but I much prefer how it comes out. You change a specific layer type. Now this is currently on multiply, but I don't really like it on. Trying on a few different things because I don't like black line. Hey, overlay is the opposite of what we want. What about darken? Darken seems okay. Hmm. Eh. Yeah, we'll go with darken. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come up all the way to the top, over here in the right, bottom right corner of my screen. We're going to create a brand new layer, never seen before. Right here, this is breaking content. And first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is I'm going to look at this guy's eyes and realize that he has green eyes. And now I'm faced with a dilemma. Because on the one hand, I can stay true to this piece, do green eyes, but on the other hand, this guy's covered in fucking green armor, and clearly I wasn't aware what a good color scheme was. So we're gonna try green eyes. We're gonna try to stay true to 2013 Farachi. We're gonna try that. It's probably not gonna work. I'll tell you that much right now. But that's okay, you know, because oh Jesus, see, there's that tablet issue. My flow got turned off. That's why. You there. Good. All right, cool. So again, this is over the line art. This is over everything. And I usually start with the eyes. I just recently started doing this. I just recently started rendering the eyes rather than just coloring them like I used to, because I like shiny, like I like really bright, dynamic eyes, right? Like I really, somebody who's much cooler than me, said that the eyes are like the soul or whatever. I don't really get that, but it makes them sound like they're important, so I want to make them look like they're important. I feel like this. I feel like I broke this. Of my brushes at some point. They fix it. All right, cool. So now we've got bright stuff and some dark stuff. Now we're just gonna around the corners, right? Good thing going, yeah, right? Just gonna fill this. The fuck? Wait a minute. Yep, there we go. I'm just a dumb shit. Fine. There we go. I had a layer mask going, and I did not need a layer mask. I should not have used a layer mask for what I was using it for. There we go. Okay, cool. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here, hit this shit, boom, boom, give them little shinies, right? Like we're in one of them fancy Chinese cartoons. And there we go. Bow. Okay. Now we're gonna look at it. You know what? I think we can do better. So here's what we're gonna try and do. I'm gonna create another layer. It's gonna be an overlay layer, right? And what overlay does is whenever you use white, brightens the shit out of everything, right? That's cool. Like that. Now, ooh, wow, I actually really like that. That gives it sort of like a yellow tinge, right? Because the green I was using is a little bit yellow based. So let's try. Let's try. No, let's not. Let's not try and do that. Let's pretend that never happened, and just say that it's fine where it's at. All right, cool. Yeah, so we did it. Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big fan of these eyeballs, so we're gonna keep the eyeballs good. Some nice proper eyeballs. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just start rendering. This is all at once the coolest and most tedious part of an art piece, at least to me, because I get to do all the things. Like this is the time when. Oh no. This is the time whenever the piece like finally takes shape, right? Like what the right thing. This is the time when the piece finally takes shape, and it starts to look like what it's always going to look like. Because I'm gonna put it on the internet. That shit's forever. So now what we're doing is we're just going in, we're cleaning some stuff up, right? There's some pixelation in some of my brushes, which is very strange. It's not something I'm used to. And I'm not sure why, but fortunately we are looking at such a tight level. It genuinely doesn't matter. I can just come in and you know, futz at it until it's gone. Yeah, so I'm gonna be basically I'm just doing a whole lot of blending, right? Like adding in some things, taking out some things, right? Like I notice that this needs to be darker, but rather than make an entirely new green, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go sample from a darker section of the other armor and just add that in there. Bam. Do the same thing right here. Just changing the world. No one dash ginger night at a time. That is not a blend. Actually, you know what? We're gonna try something different. What I'm gonna do is I'm taking a basic soft brush, right? A basic soft round, or the surround, as the youth say. And all I'm doing is I upped the opacity on it, so now it's linked to my pin pressure. And so now it will behave with a lot more sensitivity. I can ditch some of this pixelation, though I kind of want to keep some of it because I do like the sort of cluttered feeling to some of this stuff. definitely gonna want to address some of my brushes after after this stream because it shouldn't be this pixelated, and I feel like I screwed them up in a setting or something. They're supposed to be good high-res brushes. So now this is actual blending, and what blending is, or at least what live blending is you sample your colors every couple of strokes to sort of help create a proper blend into them. There we go. One of the other big things I really like to do this in this stage specifically is I really like to cover up more of my line work. It's, I don't know, it just tends to push the piece in a more in a more finished direction whenever you don't see as many whenever you're not looking at the lines as much. And since again I'm not a painter, I'm just a fucking kid who, you know, colors in lines. I've learned to color over the lines, so that way no one knows my shame, except you guys. Anybody who watches my speed paint on YouTube. So you guys. Yeah, there we go. Anybody have a question that I can answer? Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm running out of creative juices. Not in the I want to stop drawing kind of way. In the I wanna keep talking, but I don't have anything else to say. Just really not that interesting. So if you have questions, deep, burning questions about me, fucking picture I'm working on, or art in general, I could probably lie to you, and you'll probably believe it. I'm really good at bullshitting. So if if you have a question, comment, or a concern, now is your time. This is your shining moment. Three of you, which again, thank you, three of you, for showing up. This does mean a great deal to me. I know it sounds like it doesn't because my voice is perpetually trapped in sarcasm. But it's, you know, it's super important to me. Art is super important to me, and people I know are super important to me. Assumedly know everyone in this chat. And even if I don't, hey, you know, nice to meet you. Tertiarily, kind of, through the internet. How long have I been pursuing art? Oh man, that's a hell of a question. Okay, so it's a little complicated. I have wanted to be an artist basically my entire life. I really can't. I can't remember a period in my life when I didn't want to do something in the artistic field, like as an adult, right? So like originally, I wanted to be a cartoonist. I thought about, you know, being an animator and working on cartoons, um, and that was really cool. I had that was basically my identity for several years up until I think I was about 11, 11 or 12, and then I started getting into video games. And I'd always been into video games, but I started feeling things from video games, right? Like the first video game that like really gave me like an emotional like reaction that something just sort of like I felt it, you know, was fucking the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. I had that was my first like completionist high. was like, whenever you finish like a show, or you finish like something you're really invested in, and you're just like, you're done, and you're just like, shit, what do I do with my life now? That was me after Kingdom Hearts, and all I could think of while I was doing that was, I want to to give other people this feeling. I want them to be able to to have the level of investment in something that I made, uh, to to bring them joy, to make them feel things. I've always wanted to make people feel. Um, and that so about there is whenever I swapped from wanting to be a cartoonist to wanting to work in video games. And I'd say honestly at this point I'm basically half and half. I'm mostly an illustrator. That's usually where most of my freelance work comes from, and that's usually where I spend most of my time, and I'm most happy and comfortable, which is good. I like doing freelance, and I like illustrating, definitely. But I would like to do more game art. I'm signed up with an indie game right now, and that thing is cool, but it's not. It's very slow going. It's a lot of people. Most of us have never worked on a game before, so we don't know what the fuck's going on. Um, I designed a character and designed some other stuff, but they need somebody with some more animation experience, and I do not have any of that. But yeah, so I think yeah, I'd say my entire life. Okay, I think what you're saying, Drim, is that you totally get my feeling of like wanting to make people feel things. Is that right? Because if so, then that's good. Like that's awesome. That is. I honestly I feel like most people feel that way. Like most people want people to want to give people something. Okay, so this is a little side tangent, right? So what I'm doing right now is I just totally pulled a completely different color. I just took it out of my color mixer, rather than blending, is because I wanted to add a harsher highlight to this metal right on the rim. So what I'm doing is I'm placing some of the line, and this is why we're over the line. You remember, with this super bright, like desaturated green, um, and it's just going to really help push that sort of shiny metallic feeling. Just gonna blend it in a bit, but not too much, because the thing about metals is that, hey, what up, Butters? Um, the thing about metals is that they actually, whenever light hits them, it tends to hit them really hard. They tend to bleed into really bright and really dark very quickly. So things feel a lot more like kind of blocky, kind of chunky, if that makes sense. Yeah, thanks, Drim. Glad glad somebody agrees with me. So what we're gonna do again? We're gonna fucking flip that canvas. Everybody, shout it at your desks. If you don't, I'll know. Boom. There we go. All right. Yeah. So okay, I think we're just about done with. You know what? I just had a thought. I'm gonna take my own advice, and what we're gonna do, actually do, is we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did for the metal, but to a slightly lesser extent with the hair, because we want. If you notice, a lot of what I was doing was adding in darker values with the hair up until this point, and so now we kind of want to do the inverse with it and bring in some of these lighter values, just in some very specific spots, right? Like basically, this is helping to identify where the light source is. And so actually some of the areas that I had initially made darker are gonna get just a touch brighter. And this isn't going to be spots. This is just on a few. Actually, I think using it sparingly or like that right there was fine. And now what I want to do is I want to come down here, and since the way that this hair big chillin', right, to place a lot in work. This sort of like peach kind of color. Which I was better at statistics. Hey man, you know what? 3D art, Butters, is fucking awesome. Alright? Sculpting is super fucking cool. And I can't do it. So, well, I say I can't do it. I can't do it because I chose to spend my entire life doing 2D art. But let me tell you, man, like 3D artists are some impressive motherfuckers. So don't feel bad about, you know, not having some sort of like mastery over 2D and just being happy with 3D work. Like that's awesome, dude. You should be very happy, or at least very proud. I can't say whether or not you should be happy. That's your choice, you know. All right, yeah. So let's so one of the things I like to do while I'm rendering, and it's like halfway to make myself feel better, and halfway to sort of give myself a little bit of perspective to what I'm working on, right? Is I like to actually hide my rendering folder, right? So this here is our rendering folder. Boom, and it's gone. So now we can kind of see what our efforts thus far have given us, and you know, honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. Things feel a lot more I don't know, healthier. I tend to push out a lot whenever I am. Is this a normal? Yeah, this is an overlay. So another cool thing about the overlay layer that it does is it allows me to do shit like this, where I can basically do this. I can basically take section. This is, there we go. I can basically take a section, push it out a bit more, right? In the darks a bit more, but then I can come back with an overlay layer, and once I have that layer going, it's just to make things cleaner. Yeah, man, making buffers is great. Also, for the record, speaking of Butters, I love foam smiths, dude. Like, you guys make our hobby better. For those of you in the chat who don't know, I am an avid LARPer, which basically just means I get dressed up in really heavy armor and then go and hang out in the woods for a weekend, complain and wonder why I'm not just playing World of Warcraft at home. And Butters does that with me because he's a super cool guy and makes super cool stuff. There we go. Actually, I don't think I like that. I think I hate that. So what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna try something new and exciting again. So we're gonna take this, and now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna. Okay. Now we're just gonna push this line. It's gone. Nearly gone. There we go. No, actually, I know. Here we go. That'll do. Shit, fuck. Yeah, that'll do me, I think. Face region. Let's go ahead and image, rotation, doom. Huh? Yeah, that looks good. So, kind of back on the topic of this piece I'm working on. One of the big rules, I like to start in the face whenever I do rendering, is because whenever a person looks at an image, there are, especially an image of another like humanoid figure, they look for two things immediately, and it's subconscious. Most people don't even know that they do it. They're just key identifying markers. And the first thing someone looks at is a face, right? Because that's how humans get our information from other humans, is faces. And so I spend the majority of my rendering efforts on the face, because that's usually where people look. Whenever you're trying to break down a piece, you obviously people will obviously look elsewhere. But the majority of people who are just scrolling through the internet and happen upon an art piece, they will find it, and it will just be from they'll look right at the face, and then they'll move on. Or at least that's where they pay the most attention, is on the face. Which I'm actually pretty happy with this face right now. There's a little bit more I want to do with this. I mostly just want to blend that a bit, darken out that chin. Yeah, I'll call that a victory. Okay, cool. So now we get to work on some of this plate, because there is a lot of it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make a new layer. I come over here, snag this like lime green color that I have decided to commit myself to. And we are just gonna go through and outline. I need to swap away from this specific pen, specific brush. We're just gonna go through, outline some of these things. To help push the shiny metal aspect. And then we will probably come back to them after we've done a little bit of this pushing to sort of to address some of the things. What are my favorite things to draw? I'm a sucker for fantasy. mostly. Like fantasy is really big for me. I really like bright, colorful things. Bright, colorful stuff is definitely like kind of my go-to whenever I get the chance to draw something for myself. I like cute things. But if it's rooted in fantasy, it can be honestly just about anything, and I am pretty much down to clown in Party Town with it. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, I usually like drawing humanoids. So now I'm gonna do something. This is probably gonna go real bad. Um, I'm gonna color pick this original image, because this thing is lined, and we're just gonna say that I'm curious. I've got some lining here. I did put it in. I was just saving it for now. No, mm-mm. I I already disagree with this choice I've made. Um, Actually, I don't know. That might not look bad. Let's see how let's zoom out and see how it looks. Yeah, that doesn't. Nah, fam. I ain't about that life. So we're gonna do an actually what we're gonna do instead. Do some live blending, huh? Yeah, bringing it back, bringing it back. Um, just gonna come in and bow, right, and see where, yeah, see where that takes us. I think where that takes us. I think that's brought us into a good place as a community, as a people. Um, yeah, so we're just gonna do some quick coloring in uh, here, just to sort of push things in. Actually, you know what? I'm curious. If I went ahead and I did a multiply, what? Nope. I did an overlay instead. Overlay bad. Soft light. Soft light's good. About screen. Actually, screen. I think screen gets me what I want. So I'm gonna use screen for now. Probably drop the opacity on it here in a bit. But just like before, I'm starting really blocky. I'm starting really chunky. Because I know that I am going back, and I'm going to make this thing, or at least damn close, right? Like, nothing really ever turns out exactly like I envision it. Probably because I very rarely actually have a vision uh, of how I want my pieces to turn out. A vague, abstract sort of idea. This one we just happen to have some reference work. 2013. If you asked me 2013 if I would be willing to do a redraw, something I did, probably ask what's a redraw. Thanks for coming, my dude. It was super awesome. Have you? See you on WoW later. Yeah, okay. So this turned out pretty nice. Yeah, pretty fresh. Actually, I'm a big fan of this. Do another layer. Boom. Specifically for Oh man, I love that. It's just so like obnoxiously bright. I don't know why that stuff. I don't know why like really bright colors and like really bright highlights like get me so jazzed. Um, but I gotta say they do. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, dude, I love that. Awesome. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back over here to this original. That's my original edit. It's basically just knocking this out, replacing the original colors. Get them. Bow. Yeah, there we go. This yeah, this is starting to turn into a real piece, boys. And girls, potentially. Other individuals of a non-male gender. This is looking pretty hype. Alright, so let's do that handy dandy image rotation. Flip this beast horizontal again. Yeah. Yeah, alright. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big fan of this piece, like out of nowhere, just because of those highlights. That really helped bring some things to the forefront for me. This is all right. Yeah, this is like a second wind. I'm a big fan. Excuse me while I take a drink. Also, for the record, the plan was to stream for an hour, and currently we are on um, an hour and 47 minutes. This is not uncommon for me. Just sort of in my life, I tend to something and under promise, thinking that I'm gonna hate something, but then I find out I secretly love it somehow, and then we wind up here, together as a family, as an Ohana, and I think that's good. I think it's important to not only yourself, but to the people you love, right? It's important to always remember where you came from, and always do what you love, or at the very least, try to do what you love. You know, unless what you love is like something dangerous or harmful to others, in which case maybe talk to somebody first. I don't know. Got off on a tangent. Yes, you are correct. Absolutely correct. Also, Butters, just so you know, there is like a half a minute delay on the stream. So if you would like to comment, which please comment, because whenever people talk to me on stream, I'm much more excited about everything. But whenever you comment, if you could add context, just so I know which one of my dumbass comments you're referring to, that would be super dope. My God, I love this additional color that I added in here late in the game. Look at that. See, you take risks and they pay off sometimes. Maybe not every time, right? Like not every game can be a get a chicken dinner, you know. But I think this one just might be, boys. This one might be true and honest victory, which is good. I feel like this is, this is a good sign. This is my first Patreon specific piece, and it is my, kind of like my big debut into that realm, into that medium. And the fact that this is not the most disgusting thing I've ever worked on is a good sign. Ah, he says as he f***s up his line. Okay. Let's do this. Just do perfecto. Yeah, this is looking right. Right. I'm really liking this guy, actually. I might actually like use this character for something now. So this piece is I did a patron poll for my $5 monthly subscribers and up for a what my sort of like my free time piece, my personal piece of the month was going to be, and I gave them a couple of themes. I believe it was monster girls, monster boys, reverse a trope, um, gender swapping one of my original characters, or redrawing the oldest thing in my gallery, and the bastards picked that one. So that is why I am redrawing this hella old image from 2013, is because that's what people said they wanted to see, and I also have had a Patreon monthly goal to where if I hit 100 subscribers, or I hit $100 rather, not subscribers, I would willingly do 2 live streams a month, and I hit that, so we're doing that now. Actually, if I hit 200, uh, yeah, right. That's damn shame on the Monster Girls, Monster Boys. Honestly, I really thought that that's what most people were gonna pick because that's what everybody seemed really excited about. Um, but actually, the only one person voted for something that wasn't this, and and they voted for the reverse trope, which was another one. I thought there were a couple of really interesting ones, and they'll be on there again, of course, at a later date. But for this month, we're doing this. Hopefully, I'll be able to stuff to pull this video, because I would like to turn this into a speed paint, because I have most of it already covered as a speed paint until I got to the rendering. So like the actual interesting stuff that people want to watch. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I think we're good on the armor for now. I'm gonna want to add more depth and some more texturing, but I think for lighting we're good. So let's crack into this arm right here because it looks not good. Yeah, it looks not good. So let's so yeah, start new. Kind of want to all this whole section, right? So we're just gonna yeah, shading, then cut it back a bit. That, fit it back in. Swap over to your soft brush. Yeah. I think it's nice to sort of look back every now and then. A whole lot. I try to only do like a yearly redraw, and whenever I do one of those, it's usually exclusively to the year prior, right? So like I'll do a it's 2018 now, and I'll probably I'm gonna end up doing a redraw from 2017. But I never go this far back. Like this is from 2013. This is some old shit, you know? Nope. Just wanna so just gonna so yeah. Oh no, actually the Patreon cache is like super helpful. I really wasn't expecting much. I wasn't expecting nearly a response that I've gotten so far. And it's definitely encouraged me to move forward and to keep doing to keep pushing the channel and everything like that. To keep pushing and try and make something a little more tangible out of all of. So yeah, it's been nice. It's been great. I've had it up since um, the 1st of January because I started it right at the new year, and it's been really nice. Okay, bad boys. This thing is almost done. I think sitting on it a day or so and deciding that I hate 90% of it back and make some changes. But at the moment, actually quite fond of progress we've made today. It's been pretty awesome, to be honest. Now to push some of those shadows a little down here, right? We want make it clear that there's some layering going on. States. Yeah, yeah, the help from the LARP community as a whole was really nice. I'm super grateful. Um, Honestly, the only the only thing I can really like do to express my gratitude for that is to try and reach out to where to other people to where like my Patreon involves people beyond my friend group, to sort of that their trust and their faith in me is worth it, is actually worth the money that they willingly put in support me. now we're really just trying to get in here and blend these multiply layers. Well, this multiply layer with this hue and saturation layer to give a more believable fade to some of these things. That's where this live blending really comes into play. Doing things like this, just trying to make a good gradient out of some colors that may or may not have any business really being together, you know? But I think it's working. Giving us some really cool stuff. Back it up. Ditch this. And you know what? Actually, add a little bit of shading just under this. The that overhead light across. That's really important. Because you want to be consistent with your shading. That's some top priority stuff. Like that's one of the things. Like so you plan. Yeah. So I am actually planning to give that a shot. My currently my plan is I would like to come and try Compass Rose, since it's really close near the border, and I've heard mixed things about it from people, but I usually prefer to reserve my opinions on a game until I've actually been there and actually played it. And since this is Canada, um, I'm in a bit more of a bubble over here. Uh, so I really wanna go up and try that one. That's a big one for me. Um, I'd thought about giving Evil Chaos a shot early on into planning my schedule for the year, and I have since gone ahead and taken that off. I wasn't really pleased with their community, and it wasn't much of a it wasn't really worth the 5.5 hour drive from what I saw. I like their site. Their site looks freaking amazing, but everything else was kind of a hard no for me from those guys. So right now it's just Compass Rose, but if you know of any other Canadian LARPs near the border, I would absolutely love to hear about them. That's super. I love traveling for LARP. Yeah. I have heard nothing but terrible things about Medieval Chaos. So I will not be checking those guys out. Um, more power to them to have their game and do what they want to do. But I I don't have any sort of desire to participate in any of the potential negativity that I've been told goes on in that place. So instead, I'm just gonna keep it to Compass Rose. Oh no, man! Please give me your input. Input is important. One of my least favorite things is whenever people don't talk about their problems with LARPs. I know a lot of I know a lot of LARP communities really hate it when people talk negatively about their LARPs, but for me, it's really important. So by all means, please share. Tell me your feelings, your emotions, what brings you to this to feel the way you do. Rotation, canvas horizontal. Yep. All right. I'm gonna take a second to read these comments. Oh, that's not good. Kicked in the teeth like how so? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Um, don't get me wrong. I like harsh curves in games. That's something that I enjoy. I enjoy the struggle. Um, but I feel like there should be some hope of winning, of succeeding. I feel like that's kind of crucial to driving people forward. Hmm. Interesting. Well, that does kind of suck. That's like I don't know. Normally I'm the guy who complains because players win too much. Like there's no sort of fear, right, of loss. But if there's that opposite problem, I don't know. I don't really know how I'd handle that. So that'll be, at the very least, that'll be interesting. for me to experience as something that I've never actually had to deal with before. Here we go. Okay. All right, cool. So I think what we're gonna do a little bit more the on the character shading wise. Like a thing I want to add saturation layer, sort of darken thing. Do that. I'm gonna. Here. Yeah. Okay. Huh. That sucks. Okay. Well, I mean, at the very least, you've definitely piqued my interest about this game. Just if only to to experience a stark opposite of something that I complain about so much. So I will really I'm actually now really looking forward to seeing how this might like change my perspective. Oh, yeah, that happens. When people are playing like wahaha evil guys, that's unfortunate. I am less stoked about that. I like don't get me wrong. I like evil. Evil is good, but there's definitely a wrong way to do it, in my opinion. And most players tend to do it, and that kind of sucks. So that's really unfortunate, dude. I'm sorry you had such a negative experience with what seems like the most popular LARP in the general, in at least in the BC Canada area. Yeah, I can't really say there are many LARPs, at least that I've heard of from up there. What's the deal with that? Is that just like a is that just people prefer to come down here, or just too small of a community? Yeah, totally. I wouldn't mind getting your opinions on the local LARP scene because like I'm from Louisiana, so I'm from south in the U.S. and it's a very different LARP scene there, and Washington has it's a very big, very thriving sort of collective. I hesitate to call it a community because people are fucking at each other's throats because reasons or whatever the fuck. But so I definitely know what it's like to have have a more a shittier LARP environment. So that is kind of saddening to hear. And there is something so, I don't know, serene about these final few minutes working on a piece, right? Like there's just something so nice of like putting in the final polish to something you've been working on. It's just it's a real nice thing. It's a real nice feeling to sort of like finally get that accomplishment that you've been pining after for several hours. Very excited. I think I kind of want to render the staff he's holding. I think I kind of want. I think I might do. I think I might go in specifically on this on the staff layer and do like some wood grain or something. You know, just to give it a little more texture to help it match the actual character in the piece. Facebook call? Um, yeah, in a bit. Probably not tonight because I'm gonna be working on this, and then I will probably be passing out. But yeah, definitely some point we should definitely sync up and talk because I love past and current player input on any game in existence. It's just I don't know. It's just really interesting to me. I love feedback, especially because it's always different, right? From like whoever you're talking to. You know, like nobody really shares an opinion. At least once you get into detail, everybody always has their own kind of like perspective on a thing, and I personally really enjoy hearing what people's perspectives are, especially if it's a strong perspective, either negative or positive. I think that's super good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been LARPing about that long too now. Actually, what was it 2018? 26? Yeah. Yeah. I've been LARPing about 10 years. Yeah. It's getting old. But yeah. No, I totally understand, dude. It's a struggle. All right. So now we're gonna try. Now we're gonna try something. Bit of a gamble in my experience. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it definitely does not. But I think it might work for this piece. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come over here, and I've got us on a lighten layer. or an overlay layer, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit some of these highlights in the back to sort of give it, to sort of push the piece a little more off of the darker background. So hopefully, this is also going over the line work too, so it's going to raise the line works color as well. I think just personally big fan of how it's looking right now. Just let's keep putzing with it. Maybe see what we can see. Like, man, I'm really glad that I went for that green. That was not something I had initially intended with the trim. I did not expect that to happen. So that is a good, a happy accident, I think we'll call it. Love the way it's taking the light. Yeah, there we go. Two. Just spattering of light. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, I think there's just the one thing left to do. First of all, we're gonna get rid of that. Duplicate this layer, or duplicate the group. Right? Everything click back into place. To the group. Just gonna take it back down. Just gonna this. There we go. And now do this down. We're gonna here to filter, and with filter we're gonna go to blur, Gaussian blur. What that does is that just blurs out some of the harsher edges, right? This gives the piece just a bit more depth. About get okay with that, and then I'm gonna go to really have it pop. I think. Yeah, I think this looks good. And let's go ahead and edit the canvas a bit more. Just gonna stop it. Inch. Oh. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is actually gonna require handy dandy live stream, thankfully. So what I'm gonna do is down in here, find the base color group again, right? Vibrancy layer. Create a second vibrancy layer on top of it. Just gonna push this up, and we're just gonna try and get a little more, get some brighter color out of it. Get a little bang for our buck. as it were. So let's see. Still liking it, but I wanna push it just a little bit more, I think. Because I don't know, this is really saturated on my tablet screen, but it's much less saturated on my actual monitor, which is how most people are actually gonna see this. So we want, yeah, I think that's good. I think I'm okay with this. Sweet. So now all we're gonna do is we're just gonna add my gonna add my little logo, and then I think we'll be done. Here, here, where is stuff? Oh, 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 there we go. Not gonna mistake. Just gonna here. Oh, oh, yeah, there we go. Uh, let's see. Is there more I want to do this? You know what? Let's try adding an outline. We're just gonna go down, down. Just gonna group. Come over here. Click on this. Go to stroke. Cancel. The actual right color this time. Now go to stroke. Boom. Hit stroke. Tell. Stroke one more time. Side. Just gonna. Now we've got, yeah, a nice healthy outline on the side. Yeah. Cool. Alright. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call this one done. Thank you all so much for coming and hanging out and going on this fun little trip with me. This was a blast. I legitimately mean that. This was a lot of fun. So yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and end it here. Thanks everybody for coming, and be doing another one of these in about 2 weeks. All right, have a good night.